WarsawJS.
My name is Damian Baczyński, and I am an Android developer here at Daftcode. Yes, you haven't misheard. I am an Android developer, and you are probably wondering what an Android developer has to say here. My answer is not much, really. But I am more of a Kotlin developer or Kotlin enthusiast. And Kotlin actually has something to say here. To be more specific, I'm going to talk about Kotlin Multiplatform and its usage in web applications development. OK, but before we start, I have a little survey. So the first question is quite dumb. Is here anyone that know what Kotlin is? Like, raise your hand. Good. OK. So how about Kotlin Multiplatform? Anyone? I like you. OK. So let's start from the beginning of Kotlin, which is Kotlin JVM. If you haven't heard about Kotlin Multiplatform, this is like the default Kotlin. Like, this is what you identify with Kotlin as a whole. However, this is just a part of something bigger. So what is Kotlin JVM? It's a technology that allows you to compile Kotlin code to Java bytecode. It is interoperable with Java, so you can call Java libraries from Kotlin and Kotlin libraries from Java. And because of this association with JVM, you probably identify Kotlin with only Android and some backend development, but this is quite edgy. OK, so as I said, there is more. So there is Kotlin Native, which is a technology that allows you to compile Kotlin to native binaries that run without a virtual machine, which is quite surprising because there is this, as I said, association between Kotlin and Java virtual machine. It supports multiple targets like Windows, Linux, iOS, which is quite important, and many more. It's also interoperable with C or Objective-C and Swift. It depends on the platform. It's C on like Windows, Linux, and this is Objective-C on like iOS. OK, and last but not least is Kotlin.js. It transpiles to JavaScript, and this is like quite similar to TypeScript because both transpiles to JavaScript. Of course, we have this interoperability with JavaScript. So we can call, for example, window object from Kotlin. And as documentation says, current implementation of Kotlin.js targets AS5 standard. OK, but what is this Kotlin Multiplatform? Because it might seem that I haven't answered this question yet. Essentially, Kotlin Multiplatform is those three branches of Kotlin. But there is one missing part, which is common Kotlin. This is an intersection of three Kotlin flavors or branches. So it supports all of the platforms. So we can compile common Kotlin to any platform. But there is actually one problem with this, because you can't directly refer to platform-specific stuff, like previously mentioned window object. So how to solve this problem? In a typical Kotlin multi-platform project, we have this common module which contains Kotlin common code. And we have multiple modules for each platform that our project supports. OK, so let's assume that we want to generate some UIDs from common code. There is no such a functionality in Kotlin standard library. However, luckily, Android and iOS support it. We can do it with Java standard library or iOS foundation framework. So how to do it? So let's start with this expect. So we expect a random UID function that returns string. This declaration enforces us to implement this function on every supported platform. Without it, project just won't compile. Yes, so below we can see both of the implementations. And here we can see why interoperability matters. Because without it, we have just a language that compiles to everything, but you have to do everything from the beginning. So it's not that useful. The other important thing about interoperability is that we can migrate our projects gradually without crushing everything and starting from scratch. Okay, so there is a lot of multi-platform libraries that do this expect actual for you. And there is, for example, Kotlin serialization, which you know what it does. Kotlin datetime, again, you know what it does. There is Kotlin coroutines, which is a library for asynchronous programming. And this one is quite big because it's not just for multi-platform projects. It's like the default way of doing asynchronous programming in Kotlin. So this is quite big. There is a Ktor, which is HTTP client, and there is SQLDelite to work with local SQL databases. And there is many more libraries, smaller ones, but there is no guarantee that they support all of the platforms. Those support all of the platforms, by the way. Yeah, so we can go further. So what is the use case of this Kotlin multi-platform technology? The most common use case has a special and official name for it, which is Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile. The idea is that we can share a business logic layer and data access layer between Android and iOS app, and UI stays native to provide the best user experience. But where is JavaScript in all of this? So we can all imagine that we have a product that needs iOS app, Android app, and also a web app that works in browser. So you can share all of this code between those three platforms. So write once, test once, break once, and fix once. But let's take this idea even further. Let's add a Kotlin backend to the equation. Now we can share code with the backend. The first thing that might come to your minds is that we can share DTO classes, which create some kind of data contract between clients and the server. But I think we can share even more. We can have an app that do some stuff locally that backends also can do, like simulate some backend behavior, or for an app that can work offline, something like this. But what if I tell you that we don't really have to abandon Kotlin to write native UI? There is few Kotlin.js frameworks to do browser UI. But before that, another question. Who knows Jetpack Compose? OK. So this is a UI framework that's reactive, and this is for Android. The idea is we create our components with functions. So every component is essentially a function, which is called a composable. So from the composable, we can call other composables. And this is how we compose our UI. And also, we can see this expanded variable. This is our state. So you can figure it out that if we change the state, UIs updates. Recently, JetBrains have made some effort to make Compose available for other platforms. And this is how Compose for Web came to life. It's essentially the same Compose, like in a core, because we have composable functions, we have the same state management, because this is exactly the same thing. The only things that differs is actually components. So here we use DOM elements, and the result of this UI is DOM hierarchy. And I think Compose for Web is like the most promising UI framework for Kotlin.js. There is a little more. There's like React Wrapper, which I don't really like as an Android developer, but not really because it's React, but because there is some boilerplate with it. So that's why I don't like it. There is also Kvision, less boilerplate, and even it has some products in production, which is quite impressive, but projects are not that impressive. Like they are like quite simple. So, and there is also Fritz 2 and Dodel. I have never tried them. Fritz is reactive, and Dodel does things that I don't understand. So you have to check it on your own. Yes, that was my last point. Here I have some statistics for you. This is from a survey conducted by JetBrains. It refers to Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile, but I think we can share the same amount of code with JavaScript platform. OK, so I hope you like the idea. I hope maybe one person, at least, try it. But yes, this is the end. Any questions?
Question. Anyone? Here we go.
Opinions are also appreciated. So if
Next question, please.
OK.
Please, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Is it on? I don't think it is. Thanks for the presentation. It was really cool. I'm wondering, some other solutions that I see that are similar are like React Native and Flutter. How do they compare to
Yeah, I expected that questions, but I'm not sure if I'm prepared because I haven't tried React Native and Flutter. But I'm not sure how Flutter actually works. But I think Kotlin Multiplatform has this advantage of gradually migrating. You don't have to like do everything from scratches. And also, Flutter actually, I guess, had some issues with animations on iOS, but I'm not sure about it. So it's just like, I'm not sure.
Next question.
I got one. I don't speak Kotlin, so if you go back the code and explain what
You want Jetpack Compose? This?
Yeah. So what does the var byte?
Yes, I expected that because I know one front-end developer that asked exactly the same question. What is byte? So exactly, essentially, byte is a functionality that allows you to reuse some getters and setters logic. So there could be an easier example. So if you replace this remember with lazy, you actually get lazy initialization reused. You can reuse getter and setter logic here. Do you get it? So, OK.
It's like inheritance?
It's like delegation. So this variable will delegate to getter and setter of this object on the right side.
Okay.
This should be
Was that clear for everyone? Silence. I guess you have to try it out is what you have to do. You really have to play with it a little bit and get some experience. Thank you very, very much. Any other questions? Any other? Here we go. One more.
Let's say that I feel inspired by your presentation. Have you personally used Kotlin JS on front-end on production?
Not on production, but in my pet projects.
Cool. I'm a little bit worried about performance. Like everything compiles to JavaScript nowadays.
Okay.
Opinion, like about performance. Have you stumbled upon any problems? Are there any problems in the community about performance of that solution?
Community might be a little problem. Like this is quite young, so there is not much Stack Overflow questions or anything like this. You sometimes might find yourself in a situation that there is no one to help you, really. But if you know JavaScript, you can always do some things natively, so that's not a problem. Like if you can do this from Kotlin, you can do this natively. About the performance, I'm not a performance man. I don't know, actually. But my app worked, I guess, so...
Well, performance, that's my middle name. So I'm going to perform. No, I'm joking. Thank you very much for your talk. If you have any more questions, you can ask them a little bit later when we get after the lightning talks, okay? Thank you. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. It's a great presentation. Well prepared.